Alrighty, welcome family. We're going to talk a little bit about how to use the copper card to reset the nervous system. Let's talk a little bit about how that could show up in our lives. So the nervous system is really part of what is reacting to life. So it's reacting to our thoughts, it's reacting to our environment, it's reacting to those synapse responses, which can be repeated programs of the mind and even of the heart. So the way that I want you to see as we work on the nervous system today, I want you to see it as those triggered responses that we may have, just reactions to life, or it could be reactions to a thought pattern, something that's repeated. But it also, the nervous system is very connected to chemical responses of the body. So this can show up as nervousness, it can show up as fear. It's that cortisol that can get released into our body, and then our mind wants to connect to that and create a story about why we should be afraid, when a lot of times our body can get stuck in looping cycles where it will release cortisol for no reason at all. It is just addicted to releasing the stress hormone. And we feel stressed all the time for absolutely no reason at all. So when we reset the nervous system, we're bringing the body back into harmony. And I'm even going to go as far as to say is allowing the body to move into coherence with the frequency of source, because that's where we're all going as we continue to evolve and turn on that 12-strand DNA system, is that the body recognizes that it's more than just the biology that we are so focused on. When we go to the doctors or when we feel our experience, we are so focused on what we are on the physical. And so when we start to work with the DMT codes, we're turning on these frequencies to where we start to experience not only our nervous system, but the rest of our body as a multidimensional being and multidimensional state that has an intelligence, and that intelligence is transcribed in our DNA. It's measured at the frequency of 963, and you could say that that intelligence is source intelligence. We've already proven that the God code, if you will, or the frequency of source is transcribed in our DNA. And it's there for us to access and to experience our body beyond what we experience in the two-strand DNA system or our basic biology. So, as we work with the nervous system today, we're going to be ascending it into the experience of that 12-strand DNA system. And we're going to do some just really practical things that you can do with the card to calm down the nervous system, to reset the nervous system. And, even when we have an overactive nervous system, we feel tired, we feel stressed, we don't feel good, right? It could even lead to depression. So when we start to use these codes that are connected to a scalar frequency device that is working with the DNA, so that the DNA starts to identify in this frequency of source versus identifying in the programming of the mind, of our body, and of reality, because our DNA already knows what it is, right? Our DNA knows that we have 12 strands. And the reason that we're only experiencing consciously what we are on you could say, as material or form, is because that's what our consciousness is holding. And we know that our consciousness creates our reality. So when we start to turn these codes on, we're going to have a conscious shift. We're going to start to experience what our body is beyond biology over time. And then we start to tap in to those electrons and the biophotons. And that would be kind of the next step, is that we recognize there's more going on in my body. And what that might feel like is that you really start to feel more electric in all the right ways. You have a little bit more energy, a little bit more clarity. You have a stillness in that energy. So you don't feel tired when you're still. You feel clear, you feel focused, you start to experience flow state. And so with that, I'm going to go over a little bit about just if those that want to work with six codes, but I'm going to start with just a really quick shift on which code to use when you feel that your nervous system is reacting. This is also one if you wanted to do it every morning to just start to work with your nervous system to calm it down. This is the code that you are going to work on. And what I love about this one specific code is not only is this code working with the chemical responses of your body, and if you guys just knowing that we're really working with this part of the brain and then down into the spinal column. And of course, when we start to be overstressed, we're also working with the adrenals and it's all interconnected. But what we're really going to focus on with this first code is that amygdala that's like right back here, that is storing all of the memories of our past, but it's also very connected to primal response. So before we go into this code, I'm gonna show you how to use the little tiny symbol that's right at the top, because this symbol right here is the ultimate reset. So I'm going to teach you how to use that, what it's doing, and then we'll go into the different codes that you can do. So the first code, I'm just going to show you this before we start, is the 7. So the 7 is working with the chemical responses of the body. It's working with the nervous system. It's working with your hormones. So anything that is like out of balance that would bring your nervous system into a space of reacting. This is also working with primal response. One of the codes that would be if you wanted to pair one and you are only going to use two codes, I would go with the 1, because the 1 is the fear response to death. Okay, so it's life and death. So if you think about, your body is programmed to keep you alive. And so anytime you're using the 1, you're starting to ascend the body beyond that survival pattern. And that does not mean that it's not going to know how to take care of you. It just means that it learns how to react when it's appropriate and it calms down when it's not. How many times do we go into extreme fear and the first thing that we recognize is that there is nothing happening right now that I should be afraid of. I am not about to die. And so we know that the fear response is actually connected to a program and it's not something that's appropriate in the moment. Okay, I just saw a couple chats go up, so let me just go to those really. Denny, I love you. Okay, and then how could I get these? Okay, so these are on the website. They come with 2 workshops teaching you how to use them. You don't need to have these. You can use your copper card. And if you don't have either, you guys just go to my YouTube channel, because I have so many activations on there where you can just go and start coding without having to have any products at all. But if you did want this, we can try and throw the link up there before we finish today. But it would be under quantum products is where you would find that. Okay, I want to go over just a little bit about the symbol that's at the top of the card, because I want you guys to see this as like your reset and your go button, if you will. And I'm going to show you because it's so tiny, and if you don't have one, you might not be able to see it. I'm going to show you the technology and I'm going to tell you what it's doing when you're putting your thumb. So when I use the copper card, I just get my thumb and I hold it on whatever code, or if I'm in this case, this symbol, I will put it this. So this is the evolution scalar technology. And this technology is working with the cells to specifically allow the cell to shift from the like a way that the epigenetics turn on. If you think about an epigenetic code, what's happening is you can see you have your cell and then you have your DNA in the cell. And you have these little antennas that scan for information. And that information is what you're thinking. That information is what you're feeding your body. That information is your environment. It's if you're living in a stressful environment where people are yelling all the time, your DNA knows that because it's always listening to its environment. And what happens if that environment is triggered into that signal enough, an epigenetic code gets turned on. So when we are stressed and our nervous system becomes overreactive, it is connected to the way your DNA is reading the energy of your environment. So when we turn on the evolution scalar technology, what we're doing is we're teaching the DNA that it already has everything it needs to know right inside of it, that it is coded, and that each of those 12 strands has an intelligence of exactly how to keep the body into a space of wholeness, oneness, vitality, perfect health, and that it doesn't need to scan its environment to turn on things to bring the body out of coherence. And so, what this technology does is it teaches the cell to actually identify in the intelligence that is transcribed in that DNA. And I'm not just talking about the two strands that we identify as biology, I'm talking about a multidimensional experience of our body, bringing all the body into the frequency of 963. When that starts to happen, the body works in optimum performance. We feel good. We have clear thoughts. We have memory that is very easily accessed, but we also have the ability to receive information outside of our programming. So, whether you want to call that intuition, I call it our superpower, but really what it is what we're becoming. Because as we begin to advance as humans, we will move into a space where we're going to see without seeing, we're going to hear without hearing, we're going to know without having to process through the program part of our brain, and we're going to feel as information. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's what will happen when we start to advance beyond just these two strand DNAs, but also just our five senses. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first code first. This is called the Lu or the luminous. And this code is bringing the body into a 0 point or neutrality. So this will be part of every time you're pressing on that symbol at the top, the first thing that the technology is doing is putting your body into a 0 point. The second symbol is holding consciousness at 0 point. So it's preparing the body to know that this is actually your normal state of being. You don't need to repeat programs. You can actually be in no space, no time, and be conscious in that space. And then the last one is turning on that frequency of 963. I call this the key of source frequency. So it's turning on that frequency so that the cell is all of a sudden identifying as the frequency of source. And this is the perfect time to turn on one of those DMT codes, because when it is moving into expression, we can ask to have the experience of very specific things. So in some of our classes, this is where you would put in an I am, and it could be I am calm. So if you wanted to add an I am as you're doing your coding, you can do that. Ask for the experience you want to have. So in the case of our nervous system, I would actually, we're just going to start with the one, just because we're going to turn off the primal response. So after putting your finger on the code, resetting it, you just turned on the frequency. The cell is now no longer observing its environment. It is identifying in the frequency of source. And we are going to turn on that first code so that the body knows that it is more than a primal program, I guess we'll say, because really so much of our body is just responding to keeping us alive. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just important to know that that isn't always the state we want to be in. Sometimes we want to be in the multidimensional state because our body is more than just that. So when we press the one, we are resetting as well, because the one is the reset. The one is the new beginning. It's allowing the body to experience what it is in a multidimensional way for the first time every time you press this code. And so you're going to press it for just about 10 to 30 seconds. Some of you will feel it and some of you won't. But when we're working with the nervous system, in particular, if you want to take this to the next level, what you can do is as you're pressing on the code, shut your eyes, and you're just going to bring the whatever it is that you're feeling, and it can just be your intention. You're going to bring it right back to the base of your skull, and you're just going to ask that the code run through your nervous system. So it's resetting your nervous system to that frequency of source. So you're resetting the body to move beyond just a primal machine and allowing those 12 strands to start to turn on. And you can start to feel it running through your nervous system. Like I can feel it literally running down my arms right now. So depending on how sensitive you are will be how much you feel it. And the more you use the codes, the more you will feel it. Okay. And then get the 7. I would move my finger to the 7. And the 7 is connected to the actual nervous system. And it's also connected to the chemical responses of your body. It's connected to the glands. So you can just go, it's also connected to your nervous system or your immune system, because a lot of times when we are overtaxed, our nervous system is overtaxed, it will affect our immune system. So you can feel those as they activate there. And the same thing, if you would like to just go ahead and bring that code and just ask that it reset your nervous system. And you're going to start to feel the frequency of your body begin to raise. You may even feel your cells kind of spinning at a higher spin state. All right. And then I guess we'll go ahead and go through all the codes. If you wanted to do 6 codes, we'll go through those and then we'll open it up to discussion. And there may be some more specific codes that we could bring in. So the next code that we're going to do is the 6. So the 6 is the reprogrammer. It's also working with that ascended DNA. So it's reminding the cells that, yeah, I am multidimensional. So it's cell ascension, you could say, putting the cells into that higher spin state. So if you'd like to go ahead, I'll hold that up for those that you don't have the card. If you want to just feel that code as it's activating. And again, the intention is to reset the nervous system. This is clearing out anything that your cells may be holding on to. This could be past traumas, like old conscious programs. And this one is really fun because you can kind of feel it running through the brain just a little bit as it works with those synapse responses. So you just notice that each code feels a little different. Like this one, I feel a lot of waves, and I definitely feel electric pulses in my brain. All right, and then we're going to go to the 9. So we just reprogrammed. And now we're going to turn on, well, this one is what we call the illusion master or the matrix master. So it is going to recode the nervous system to where you are the master and it is not mastering you, which can be really important at times. Like we want to be able to have, I don't want to use the control, but control over our nervous system so that when we are triggered, we can immediately calm it down. And that's consciousness. And we can ask the support of the frequency of the intelligence of source to show us what's possible with that, not just on a biological level, but multidimensionally. And then we're going to move to the 8. So the 8 is opening up flow and harmony, coherence. So you're going to just allow that to reset the nervous system into that flow state, ease, grace. And just feeling what that one feels like. It feels so good. And then the last one that we'll do is the 33. So the 33 is going to lock all that in and put it into a state of mastery. This is full quantum. This is full mastery. It's the body, it's experiencing the body as bioquantum, multidimensionally. So, this one, as it's running through your nervous system, you could even ask, like, give me the experience of what my nervous system is in the frequency of 963. And as you ask that question, just allow the answer to come through to you through the experience of your body, through the experience of your nervous system. Because when you ask a question on a DNA level, the DNA will release a very specific frequency to give you the experience that you're asking for. And the more you allow it to come to you instead of trying to imagine it, allow it. It may not come right now, but it will. And then as you finish that, it's always important to just sit in the frequency and just witness the shift for just a few moments. I feel like I have little champagne bubbles or just a lot of fun, bubbly energy afterwards. It feels really, my body really responds to the frequency shift. Okay, so let me go over here to, oh my gosh, I just heard, just cracked open. Ooh, that's so fun, Denny. I love that. Okay, do we use our hand for all of them? Okay, and so I didn't skip the numbers. It's hard to see on how small this is, but it actually repeats. I'm not sure if that what you meant or why we skipped these. So we normally, when we code, we do 6. Sometimes it's only 4, but each code is doing something different. So specifically when we're resetting the nervous system, it will be the codes that we just worked on today. If you ever intuitively know that you're supposed to be working with a different code, work with it. Okay, this is just a guidance. You always want to follow your intuition over anything. Is there a point at which the, let's see, I just lost that one because there's another one. Where'd it go? Oh, is there a printout of each code? So if you go to the website, we'll put this under the copper code on the resource page on the website. We will get one up underneath the card, but you can also find it under the Ormus. If you go to the Cell Ascension Ormus and scroll down, you'll see each code and what each code is doing. So for instance, the first code is connected to the life and death cycle. It's connected to cause and effect. It's connected to vitamin B. So it has a lot of different things that you're working on. So depending on what you're working on, knowing that they're all working on something. Okay, let's see. Let me just look here. Is it possible to get nauseated during the expression? Yeah, it can because your body isn't used to it. So anytime just drinking a lot of water definitely helps with that. I always drink a big glass of water before I do any kind of coding. And it does, let's see, it does, I'm sorry, there's so many. Okay, I'm gonna have everybody stop putting questions in the thing because it's too much. They're like going all over. And I'm gonna just actually come and look at all of you and I'm gonna have you raise your hands to ask